All right, we are live.
Yippee!
Hi, guys.
Hi, gang. Thank you for tuning in for our final show of the year.
Yes, we've done it. We've gone so far and
We
expressed so
really
many
have.
thoughts. I know. I didn't think we'd make it this long.
I
Uh,
knew we would make it this long, but what I'm really excited for is next year we're basically renovating the podcast.
yes. This has always been like the beta to kind of
Yes,
figure out like what works, what doesn't work, how any of it. Neither of us were really live streamers before this. It was
exactly.
mainly just like I've had to teach myself OBS and how to be on camera without, making my skin crawl. Uh,
So yeah, we're doing a top to bottom refurb in 2026, but we had to kick off or the end of 2025
mhm.
to ring in the end of the year by talking about all of the rides that we've lost.
Because we have lost so many.
Yeah.
When you go to Disney, you don't really think about everything that's gone away. But is this year like one of the largest in terms of what they've gotten rid of?
Yes. And like we're going to get into this is looking at Disney World, which is really the only park out of all of the Disney parks around the world that has had significant losses this year. And it's to clear space to make way for new attractions. I think, particularly because you saw Epic Universe this year at Universal in Orlando. So Disney is looking to sort of compete with Universal's new slate of attractions, but before we can get to all the new stuff, we have to clear out a bunch of beloved old stuff.
Disney has and will always have the Tomorrowland problem, where
Hmm.
it will never, ever, ever be up to date enough for Disney. Every animatronic, all the things that we have like fond nostalgia for and care for that we're going to talk about, like, Buzz Lightyear and Dinosaur, all have like a fond nostalgia, even though they are a relic of their time and may not have a strong IP connection.
Hmm.
But that doesn't like the worst part about what Disney has become these days is that the IPification of it doesn't matter to most of us. Like, I'm not showing up to fucking Monstropolis because I have such a kinship with Monsters Inc. Uh, it's one of those things that's like, oh, Monsters Inc. is on. Oh, Monsters University is on. I'm not watching the Disney Plus show.
Oh my
Um,
God, no.
no, it's
Absolutely
fucking
not.
terrible. Oh, I've tried. It's fucking terrible.
And they can't even really let good things lie because every time they add a new sequel to the Monsters Inc. franchise, as just one example, like the quality just goes plummeting into the ground.
Well, it's because they all of the good animators either get fired or get outed as sex pests. So they
Literally.
kind of they kind of have to keep going. Disney has a great track record with that.
No,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, before we get into the rides and attractions and lands that we've lost, for our intro, which we always forget to do. So I'm Kat Tembarge. This is Stephen Asarch. And we're both journalists. We're BFFs who love Disney. And this is our podcast exploring everything about the Disney adult phenomenon and about these parks.
and if you love Disney parks, Disney, or just being a snarker,
Oh my
uh,
gosh, we have a comment as well. If they want to do endless IP chapters, I'm not sure why it can't be Muppets related.
I
So
agree.
real.
We'll get there. We'll get there. I
Yes,
will I will rant and cry.
we're gonna get into it. And also, like, interestingly enough, our title screen is about the fall of sort of Muppet Land and Muppet Vision 3D. And they're gonna try to placate us, which we'll get into at the end of this, which I can't wait for Steven's thoughts because Steven is the resident Muppet expert of this friendship.
I am the Muppet head, 110%.
So,
Cat,
shall we get started?
let's do it.
Okay, so the first thing is this is a graveyard for some of the attractions and things that we are losing. And the folks over at All Ears, which is one of my favorite Disney adult related resources, they put together a TikTok specifically walking through every last thing that we're losing at Disney World. So let's
Let's
watch
do it.
that.
Lost in Disney World in 2025.
It's tough to be a bug. Muppet Vision, Pizza Rizzo, and Mama Melrose's.
Mhm.
The Hollywood Studios Arch outside of Animation Courtyard.
What
I
did you
didn't even
call
know
me?
that that existed.
Oh,
Oh,
jelly
okay.
rolls.
I know, hard.
The rock and
Jelly
roller coaster
rolls
pre-show.
is a deep cut.
The Liberty Bell
But we're gonna
Riverboat
talk
and the
about
little
it.
room inside it where I eat my salmon.
Rivers of
R.I.P.
America. Our minds,
Oh, Rivers
when
of
Disney announced they were
America.
repainting Cinderella Castle back to the OG color scheme.
Yeah, I'm like okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of these changes are for the better.
3D visuals on Remy's. Now it's just 2D.
Dinoland USA, most of it.
Tom Sawyer Island.
This is rude. It says Quincy's water bottle. That's true. I did lose my water
I
bottle
interviewed
permanently.
Quincy
Follow all these
a couple
net
years
keep up
ago,
with all
and she was
things Disney in
so
2026.
nice.
She's still upset about the water bottle.
She is upset about the water bottle, but I interviewed her for a piece about Tokyo Disney, and she was so sweet and so cool.
Love a good Disney influencer. So
Exactly.
the Hollywood Arch, because I do know this one.
Okay.
On when MGM Studios was enacted, it was basically just your arch, but it was covered in like Hollywood iconography of like people with cameras filming, and it was like it was right near Rock and Roller Coaster and in that whole area around
Oh.
Muppets,
hmm
and then they just got rid of it and replaced it with like nothing, because again Hollywood Studios has no theming.
Right.
That's always been its issue. It's just a bunch of random shit all over the place because Disney lost all of the IPs. They had MGM
Interesting.
at one point for the Great Movie Ride, and then Amazon
hmm
swallowed them up, so they had to get rid of that. And then Muppets is basically not as popular, so they had to get rid of that.
hmm
So what is Hollywood Studios left with? A Mickey Mouse ride, which
It's
I've never
so
been on.
dark. I like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, but it 1 billion% pales in comparison to the Great Movie Ride, which I think is one of the coolest things Disney ever did to combine a boat ride with live theater, with an actual tour guide in your boat who would get out and interact with like the scenes around you. Like that was so cool. And Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, it's good for kids and it has like a couple of like fun special effects, but you're mainly just looking at screens. And that is like such an unfortunate theme of like 2020's Disney Imagineering is just like screens on screens on screens on screens. So I think Hollywood Studios, despite being now the second most popular park behind Magic Kingdom, it's struggling. It's struggling.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok recently that they took the water dancers, the ones that are like this with their arms
Mm,
like up. They're
yes.
now being put in sweaters and thrown in window displays. Uh, so they don't.
Wow.
So it's like it's an Easter egg, and to me, it's just like it's lazy.
It is
Uh,
lazy. It's totally lazy.
but it's tough to be a bug. Um,
Yes.
it's tough to be a bug was my favorite thing in Animal Kingdom when it came
Mhm.
out when I was young. I remember the first time I went to Disney, it was like 2000, maybe 2001. So it was right around the time that like Animal Kingdom had like come out.
Mhm.
And it's tough to be a bug as a young kid. I remember being terrified, not of Hopper, the giant grasshopper. It was of the wasp stings that would come at your back.
Yes.
So I would
Mhm.
sit like this, like with my back arched away from it, so it wouldn't try to stab me in the back at all times. Um, but like it was so good. It was so good. Again,
Mhm.
you show the curtain right here, the curtain made of moths that like fly
Yep.
away. It's tough to be about kids so much character, and I hate the educational concept that being that like that matters. But like it did feel
Mhm.
like it taught you something. There were bugs that I didn't like. Dung beetles. I think that was my first introduction to the dung beetle. Um,
Same.
though it is a meme and most people don't know about the bug that pushes poo. But
Yep.
the giant ball, did you see they changed the giant ball of poo at the beginning and they covered it with like animal footprints as a way to try to show a togetherness in what this
No
became
way.
for Zootopia Zoogether.
Oh, I did not see that. That is so disappointing. And yeah, we talked about It's Tough to Be a Bug a lot in our last episode about Zootopia, but I had to mention it again. And I do think it is a really great attraction. And Steven, the fact that you also hated like the wasps coming into your back, That is clearly such a, like, universal childhood experience at Disney. For me, it was the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids live show. Did you ever
Mm,
go to that?
I did. I
I
was.
literally I can't remember how old I was. I was probably in, like, 3rd or 4th grade, but that was a visceral Disney memory of being, like, carried out of the attraction, like, crying and screaming, because when the rats I think it
Mm,
was rats, when they released the rats during that show, there are, like, ropes on the floor that hit your ankles, and it's a very similar effect to the wasp scene, but it freaked me out so bad as a kid that I had to leave. So, I feel like Disney doesn't do a lot of stuff like this anymore where it's, like, risky but super, super memorable and, like, actually gives the kids a little bit of a fright.
no, I remember with It's Tough to Be a Bug for the foot thing, they do like air puffs to make it feel
Mhm.
like there are like bugs crawling on your feet.
Yep.
And I don't think they do anything remotely similar for the Zootopia one.
It's
Um,
sad.
because
It's
kids can't be
sad.
scared. They can't lift
Mhm.
things.
Right.
Like when Hopper descends and It's Tough to Be a
Mhm.
Bug, it's scary, but like it's cool because there's a giant animatronic grasshopper. And A
Right.
Bug's Life is kind of a scary movie for young
It
kids.
is.
You know, the grasshoppers want to commit a genocide.
Right.
Uh, they want to kill all the ants. Um, and we learn that together is how we end up defeating the fascists. It's Tough to Be a Bug is an Antifa movie.
That's a beautiful message, and I feel like Disney really has it out for A Bug's Life as a property because there's no sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And they've now determined that if there's no sequel, there's no value, which is why they had the entire Bug's Life land at Disney California
Mm-hmm.
Adventure, which they took out completely and replaced with like the ugliest, worst Marvel land. And at some point, we have to do like a Marvel land
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
teardown.
I remember when Marvel End came out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna find all the Easter eggs. I'm gonna watch all the YouTubers," and none of them could find Easter eggs.
Right.
But if you show me Islands of Adventure with their weird ass Marvel land, it's nothing
Hmm.
but Easter eggs with like random Marvel references. It's got the goddamn Wizard. You don't know who
It's
the
so
Wizard is?
It's so sad that, like, a decade after you had Islands of Adventure, even I think more than a decade, um, you have Disney's version, and it is so much worse despite having, like, so much evolution around theme park technology, they've managed to create a worse Marvel Land today.
It's so dumb. I don't understand it. It's so easy to make superheroes cool. Just don't give us
Exactly.
a sterile college campus. But let's
Yeah,
let's focus on what has gotten rid of rather than the bullshit that exists.
exactly. I think we have a TikTok here.
You
Um,
got it.
yep. This is the last showing ever of It's Tough to Be a Bug, and I love that everyone knows all the words.
God, this is like burned into my head. I'm so
Yep.
aware of every moment.
Mhm. It's so visceral. It's like you only really had to see this once for it to stick.
Magnifying glasses are for looking at little things, not for burning little things. See ya.
Came out 20 years ago, and it
So
still holds
good.
up better than like so much of the other stuff that exists at the parks these days.
Yep. Yep. The puns, the bug puns are just so, so, so good.
It's so like everything doesn't have to be a Mr. Beast style story. I
Right.
feel like that's kind of where, like I think storytelling has become like the meme word of today. Every LinkedIn person is
Hmm.
now a storyteller because
Yes.
that's just how things are. Not everything needs a narrative arc. Just let
Hmm.
me see fun shit. Like I guess Hopper showing up and spraying us all as if we're bugs and committing a genocide on the audience uh can be, but it's like, again, it's not the same level of like we gotta go fight the lamb and go find things so we're all together. It's just, it dumbs it down.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so RIP to It's Tough to Be a Bug. Moving on.
It's time.
It's time. It's time to talk about Muppet Land.
So Muppet Land. So for anyone who doesn't know, because my obsession with the Muppets is my niche thing. Everyone thinks
Hmm.
on Twitter I care about Ethan Klein. I don't care about Ethan Klein. I care about the Muppets. Okay, that is where my heart and soul lies. I have been watching every Muppet thing since I was a young kid. I've binged everything with the Muppet Show. There's a new Muppet
Hmm.
Show that's coming out in February that I'm going to throw a party at because
Love.
the Muppets is so much to me. And I remember seeing Muppet Vision for the first time. Probably not on my first trip. I was a little young, but the second trip. It is just
Hmm.
so burned into my head. The waiting room where it's just so full of Muppet gags. There's the spaceship from Pigs in Space. The televisions. It's got like a dozen like old style TVs that were all in like different rows, and they all kind
Hmm.
of like lean into each other. Like in terms of like a gag will start on one television, it'll move over to the next television. It'll just like keep moving. Like Rizzo shows up making fun of Mickey Mouse. Um, then when you get to the actual show, it's they created like the first 3D Muppet for the show.
Wow.
Waldo, I think Walter. No, Walter's someone different. Um, but they like created this whole technology that's still basically used today to control CGI Muppets. So much of Jim Henson went into Muppet Vision, and he died a year before this thing came out. And
Wow.
it was the last thing he ever made before he passed. So like there's a Vulture article basically talking about how Muppet Vision should be a historic landmark, and
Hmm.
I still read it. I don't like rereading articles, but that one I will reread because I agree 110% that
Hmm.
Muppet Vision wasn't just like one of their dog shit rides that they can get rid of. You know, I know people care about Captain EO or even
Yep.
Star Wars Cargo Bay. Um, but like Muppet Vision to me was the culmination of a creative's hard work and what he ultimately wanted to do and what could have happened if he didn't work himself into an early grave by getting pneumonia and not getting it checked out.
Oh,
Um,
that's so sad.
and like the Muppet Vision, like the fountain that we're looking at right now,
Hmm.
originally had so much other stuff on it. There was like a Fozzie Bear with a camera. There were rats
Wow.
that like circled it. Muppet Vision had so much heart and care, and like the Muppets are a thing that works for all ages, and I loved Muppet Vision. And when I
Yeah.
first heard that they were getting rid of it, I was like, no, like why? How? There's no reason to get rid of Muppet Vision. It is still an amazing ride that like even though because puppet technology, though it may improve, doesn't age.
Yeah.
It basically stays timeless. You can watch a 1970s Muppet Show, and it will still be just as good today as it was back then, because it's not full of random reference. Like it might full have celebrities that you don't know.
Hmm.
You know, not everyone's gonna know Don Rickles when he shows up. But but you can still watch it and still love the gags and still love all of the bits. And Muppet Vision 3D really encapsulated it so well. And for them to just like wash it away and get rid of it. Like when they first announced that they were getting rid of Muppet Vision 3D, I don't think they expected it to be as controversial as they did.
Agreed.
I
Totally.
I think they were just like, oh, people want to get rid of this thing, of course. Which is why they originally, when they announced it was, partially going away, they were like, whoa, not just yet. Hold on for a minute. We're gonna find a way to archive it first. Which you can't. You can't archive Muppet Vision. It has
Right.
animatronics. It's got a cast member who comes out in a Sweetums costume. It's not the sort of thing that you can just chuck on Disney Plus and expect the same result.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
it felt good to get out.
We have 2 Muppet Vision TikToks or Muppet Land TikToks. I also like for me, I did not grow up watching the Muppets, but
Hmm.
even without having that knowledge or that like nostalgia or sentimentality for the Muppets brand, like this was a part of Hollywood studios that again was very visceral to me as a kid, even like not having the same connection to Muppets that a lot of people did. I also remember like this was a part of the park that my dad really loved
Mm.
because he grew up watching like the Muppets and stuff like that. So it has such a inherent nostalgia and clear like love and passion that I think stemmed from having Jim Henson be a huge driver and the person obviously behind this before he died. So there's a heart to Muppet Vision 3D that
Yes.
most attractions at Disney World unfortunately no longer have. And that is really, really sad to lose. And I even think that like the whimsy of the land around it is something that speaks to me as very like 90s and early 2000s Disney.
Yeah, Disney decided to rip out their heart and get rid of it for fucking Monstropolis.
Yep. Yep.
They're gonna eat
So
Muppet
this
themed
creator
foods to say goodbye.
is going through some of the food in this land, which we obviously lost. Not only Muppet Vision 3D, but we also lost like Pizza Rizzo and the other like Italian restaurant here. I don't think that the food was ever considered to be that great, but the theming of these restaurants was incredible.
It was originally. I'll play this and then I'll rant.
Yeah.
To Muppet Vision forever. Of course, we've got to eat a whole meal at Pizza Rizzo. Let's go eat rat pizza. Upstairs is the best area.
Love this.
Open 7 days for now. All right, here we go. We got the meatball sandwich, the pizza, kids meal, and look at this. It's a pizza dessert cookie. Try it. The critic is watching.
So cute.
I've never had this one though. It's kind of like a Linzer cookie, which I love Linzer cookies.
And into the best room, the dance party room. This is so cool.
That room
One
makes
last
no sense.
dance party. And now that we're done eating, we have to say goodbye to the store. Goodbye to the iconic
I don't even. The store used to be so much better. And if you look, I don't know if you can see it really at this angle, but the store itself is a Muppet face. Where like the eyes can kind of see it, and this is supposed to be the mouth.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes, I can see it.
Yeah, it's the whole place is so themed, and it was so full of gags. Then they basically like got rid of it. But Pizza Rizzo's originally was so much. It had so originally it was gonna have animatronic rats that would be on guardrails that would actually deliver you your pizza.
That's amazing.
And they would show up and do that, but I think the technology didn't end up working. So they just ended up making it like a random themed bar. And Pizza Rizzo's itself doesn't really have much Muppet theming. I remember when I went last time when I was in my mid-20s and I saw
Nice.
like what Muppet Land had become, and I was so like dejected and sad, and I walked around just trying to find anything. And like she didn't really show it in this video, but there's like one board that sort of like shows a few pictures of the Muppets, and the Muppets are like photoshopped into old pictures on the walls. But in terms of like Muppet theming, it really didn't have much. But like again, it just had so much promise, and Disney just kept like neglecting it over the years.
Much like the Muppets franchise as a whole.
Yes.
So much promise, but the budget is not coming through. We need like someone whose special interest is Muppets to work at the Walt Disney Company in a high enough position that we can get like a Muppets renaissance. And I do believe that could happen.
So on the first week of February, I know this, it's on my calendar. The Muppet Show is coming out. They're doing one with Sabrina Carpenter.
Wait, that's so exciting.
Yeah, they're doing like a whole Bring Back the Muppet Show, and like I have so much hope. I have so much hope that they can do this right, because when the Muppets are done right, they are amazing, and when they are done wrong, we get like they did like a show over the pandemic that's basically just like all of the Muppets talking to celebrities and like in their own individual rooms, and it seems so cringe and like awful. But I'm hoping. I will say Seth Rogen is an executive producer, which doesn't really give me hope, but I at least believe he's probably a Muppet guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have hope. Let's do
I
the
hope
next
so.
one.
Yeah. This is really sweet. This is just so sentimental.
Oh yeah, I've seen this one.
They will find it, the rainbow connection, the waters, the greener than me. La, la, dee, da, doo. La, 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 dee, da.
The Rainbow Connection was gonna be the first dance at our wedding.
Oh my gosh.
But my sister took it.
Oh.
That's okay. I get to go for deeper cuts. Uh,
True.
you know, there are much deeper Muppet cuts that I love dearly. I'm going to go back there someday, even being green, even though I don't know if that's a deep cut. But yeah, like looking at like so the last showing of Muppet Vision 3D was it was for cast members and for Jim Henson company people. So like Jim Henson's daughter showed up.
Saw that.
I think the original voice of Kermit, not the original voice, obviously, but Steve Whitmire, who replaced Kid Jim when he passed, was also there. Um, I could be wrong on that. He's got a bad relationship with Disney. But
Mm.
there were a bunch of people who were basically like Muppet there, and they all came, and they all celebrated it as the last thing. And now to picture it as just like a fucking lot
Yeah.
that they just like brought over and destroyed is just like, ooh, I hate it so.
My hot take on Disney's current standing with the Muppets is that I think it really took the company back by surprise. Um,
Yes.
that people cared so deeply about the closure of this ride and this land. And this is something that cannot be captured in sort of the data around like having really long wait lines or like how many people can you cram into a space at Disney, but sort of how much people care about something and how much love there is for lack of a better word, an intellectual property.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I don't think Disney saw coming. I think that they thought that Muppet Land would go out with sort of like a whimper, but instead, you do not see the kind of like adoration for a ride closure that you saw with this. Like when the OG test track
Yeah.
closed down for refurbishment, test track is still there. It's now like test track 2.0. There was like one guy who I remember on TikTok was riding test track over and over and over and over again on that last day, and that was like really funny. But like when Muppet Vision 3D closed, you just had enormous crowds of people coming into the parks to like say their goodbye. And I know Steven and I like joked that we were going to wear like deforestation style t-shirts and like chain ourselves to the building. But like I just think Disney didn't see that coming. And so, as we're going to get into, they're now quickly trying to replace Muppet Land with other Muppet stuff. And I imagine that this Sabrina Carpenter Muppets special is going to also draw in a ton of eyeballs. So if I had like a Disney prediction for 2026, I would not be surprised if we saw a ton more like Muppet announcements and like energy being invested into the Muppets because I think now they recognize the value that this franchise has.
Oh yeah. I think 2025 will go down as the worst year for the Muppets.
Yeah.
Period. They had the. Do you know about the magic show?
No, tell me.
So there was a magician named Rob Lake. You've never
Mhm.
heard of him. Nobody's ever
No,
heard of him. But
certainly not.
he did a Broadway show with the Muppets. He was
Oh.
a magician who brought the Muppets on stage. It was a big, PR like bonanza. Everyone's like, the
Hmm.
Muppets are finally coming to Broadway, but not how you think. Um, the so it is so it closed, obviously closed. It had 20 preview performances and 4 real performances, which means it is one of the 10 worst performing Broadway plays of all time. Um, it I mean they don't really use the Muppets. They like show up for brief cameos. It's a goddamn magic show.
Hmm.
They don't really serve a purpose. They're just sort of there for branding. And the story that I've heard is how they got the Muppets is that Rob Lake had like worked with Disney before on like certain projects and he had a connection. So he goes to Disney and he's like, I want to license the Muppets, and they give him like the most absurd number they can possibly think of to
Hmm.
do the Muppets, and he's like, I'll take it. According to tax documents I saw in another YouTube video, it cost $7 million to put on this Muppet Magic Show that
Wow.
closed in literally 4 actual performances. Like,
Wow.
but the only people that were there to see the Muppets.
Yeah.
If you like listen to the reviews, the crowds are basically like it's all like dead when it comes to the magic, and the second the Muppets come on stage, everybody loses their shit because
Mm.
everybody has such a kinship for these like felt creatures that were parodied by a lot of dead guys. Um,
Makes sense.
so I'm hoping that again Disney has kind of seen that there is a massive fan audience for the Muppets. Like, so
Yep.
this year was supposed to be the best one for the Muppets. I'm still sticking on the Muppets. Screw it.
Yeah.
It was the 70th anniversary of the
Wow.
Muppet Show. And do you know what Disney did? They
What?
released 70 magnets. Uh,
Ooh.
one of like just each Muppet. They picked a bunch of random Muppets. You don't know who New Zealand is. I
Nope.
do. But I don't care about the magnet he has. That's that's all they did for the 70th anniversary of the Muppets. One of like truly an important, I think it's the Muppet Show, is like an important milestone in like television in general. Disney was like, we'll give us some magnets. It'll be good enough. We'll close the ride. It'll be good enough. And
Yeah.
it's just like, again, Disney time and time again. We keep saying that Disney does not understand who their audience is. They see
No.
a bunch of charts. Bob Iger sits in his golden mansion smoking cigars worth my rent and being like, the Avatar Fire and Ash made a bunch of money, but it didn't make as much as Zootopia 2. So let's get rid of Avatar Land and make Zootopia Land in Disney.
Of course.
Come
Of
here,
course.
Michael Eisner. He is just like a man in a Git mask that looks like Michael Eisner show up. And that's how I picture
Beautiful.
Bob Iger's mansion. But again, it's just like time and time again, Disney had such great opportunity to do something cool. I don't actually know what this is.
Okay, well, let me tell you about Jelly Rolls. Um, I was lucky enough, I got to go to Jelly Rolls one time before it closed. I went in like late 2023. And Jelly Rolls is a little known establishment that unfortunately no longer exists, RIP Jelly Rolls. And what it was at Disney's Boardwalk Resort. For those who don't know, the Disney resorts near Epcot are like the yacht club, the beach club, and then the boardwalk. And the boardwalk itself is pretty cool. It's like a bunch of shops and restaurants that line the water. And Jelly Rolls was at the very, very end of the pier. You had to walk all the way down there. And this venue, it was essentially like a dueling pianos venue. And I don't think a lot of people knew about it. And I doubt that it made a ton of money, which is why it is now closed. But when I went, it was really, really fun. And it was kind of like reminiscent to me again, thinking back to like 90s Disney, thinking back to like Pleasure Island, which is a place that I don't think either ever got to go.
No, it was
Um,
long gone by the time we were of age.
yeah, exactly. So this is like somewhere where you could request songs, and it was, I mean, for those who are unfamiliar with the dueling pianos concept, it's basically just like you have professional piano players like playing songs and everyone in the audience sings along, and it's very, very, very fun. So like when I went with my fiance's family, and we got to hear a lot of like really fun music, and it didn't even feel like we were at Disney anymore. Like it very much so felt like it was from a different era. So that was Jelly Rolls. And another cool thing about Jelly Rolls is that you could get married here. This was like a Disney weddings venue. And I think it probably still is, but the establishment inside has closed. And I'm intrigued to see if they're actually going to do anything with this space or if it's going to lay dormant. But RIP to Jelly Rolls, you were fun while it lasted.
Disney can't have anything. There's no IP related to Jelly Rolls. You know,
Exactly.
they're gonna make
Exactly.
it Wreck-It Ralph themed and
We need
throw in a bunch of
we need
sweets.
not a Wreck-It Ralph themed bar. We need a Jelly Rolls Disney Plus series for them to justify its existence. But unfortunately, we have none.
Right? It's got to get one of those Imagineering things that they do.
Exactly.
Instead,
Also, Patriot SM USA said just subscribed. Thank you for
thank you.
being here. We
Yes,
appreciate it.
we're ready and thank you. And now, I've never actually been on this because, as Kat knows, I'm terrified of roller coasters, and this
Uh-huh.
is like the only actual real roller coaster at Disney.
Yes. So I think this is the only ride in Orlando on Disney property that has a full loop. You
Mm-hmm.
do go upside down on this ride. That is why it has, as you can see in this photo, an over the shoulder lap bar, which you need for a ride that goes upside down. So this is Rock and Roller Coaster featuring Aerosmith. This ride to me is super, super cool. I have loved it since I was a kid. The gimmick here is as you're on this roller coaster, you are hearing an Aerosmith song. But in continuation to our previous Muppets bit, Once Muppet Land closed and Disney saw how much love there was for Muppets and how much anger there was toward Disney for closing Muppet Vision 3D, they were like, "Ooh, we know what's going to placate you guys. We're going to take the Aerosmith out of Rock and Roller Coaster and we're going to put the Muppets back into Rock and Roller Coaster."
It's so silly. They've released the lore synopsis. So,
Exactly.
do you know who like Scooter is? He's the orange one that has glasses of the Muppets.
Yes. Yeah.
So his uncle owns the Muppet Theater, and the gimmick is he is Kermit's gopher and the assistant because his uncle owns the theater, so he can't be fired. His uncle has now bought the record company that Aerosmith the ride happens at. So that's why he is now. That's why the Muppets are now in charge of Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay. You know, they threw that backstory together really, really, really quickly, but A plus for effort, I guess.
Right? They definitely like worked. That was just like, okay, what we only have one room that we can use to actually make theming. Because
Right.
Rock and Roller Coaster, I've watched it. I'm not going to go on it, but I watch it. It doesn't really have any like theming. It's just like the LA stuff.
Yeah.
And no one remembers Superstar Limo.
Oh, Superstar Limo.
I went on Superstar Limo. That's one that.
Really?
Oh yeah, I remember being like, the only one I recognized was Drew Carey. I
Wow.
was just very confused, but they, decided to do with Aerosmith, and like right now, I believe the roller coaster is still going. They've just
Yes.
closed the pre-show.
Yes. Yes. So I have a TikTok here explaining what the pre-show used to be. Except, actually, no, wait, this might be the empty one. Yeah. Or no, yeah. So this is what the pre-show
What?
was.
We're copyright claimed. Uh yeah. It's so simple and so little.
Hmm.
It doesn't like I think they're gonna like add animatronic penguins. I think that's basically
Interesting.
it.
Yeah. I think that this ride had a really like clever and cool premise. And even though I didn't really understand what the band Aerosmith was as a child, um,
Yeah, that's just gonna be my second. I was like, what do you know from Aerosmith as a small child? I don't think you're watching Armageddon.
no, certainly not. I knew like a couple of the songs, and I have like vague memories of being on this roller coaster and hearing these songs and being like, this is awesome, as a child. But the gimmick here was like Aerosmith needed to get to their concert. And so you are speeding through LA with them on their way there. I also recall this story on Reddit about this ride and this pre-show specifically that I love, which is in the pre-show, they're basically saying like we're gonna take all of these people backstage with us. And
Mhm.
according to this cast member at Disney who posted anonymously on Reddit, a woman once came up to her at the end of Rock and Roller Coaster and was like, "And where do we go to meet the band?" And the cast member was like, "What?" And this was an adult woman, and she was completely serious. And she was like, "They said that we're gonna get to go backstage and meet the band." And she was like furious that Aerosmith was not actually living at Hollywood Studios for her and her kids to go meet.
You just picture like a mummified Steven Tyler just coming out and being like, "Time for the third meet and greet of the day."
Exactly. Which I mean, if anyone were to do it, it would be Disney, but that was never actually part of the ride.
Yeah, no, they I believe it was Aerosmith's contract was running out. Um,
Yes.
and they were like, "We don't want to pay for a band that nobody knows anymore." And we got the Muppets lying around, which is again how the Muppets keep ending up in things. The Muppets
Yes.
are lying around. They released like I'm going back to the Muppets because I can't stop myself. They released it's like the saddest video ever, and it's the original Gonzo performer like sitting in the woods under a rock controlling Gonzo. He's like in his 80s. No, he's in his 70s. His arm can barely move because he's had so many shoulder surgeries. And he's
Mhm.
doing that, and it's like drone shots, and it's supposed to be beautiful. And I'm like, this is so sad. Like, let
That
this
is
man
good.
retire. Let Dave Wells
Yeah,
retire. He doesn't need to do this shit. He doesn't have to perform in the Muppet Show with Rock and Roller Coaster and all of these things. Reinvent the Muppets. Don't keep shucking them into things and doing
absolutely.
nonsense. But uh,
Well, fingers crossed, last thing on the Muppets is that by the end of next year, this time next year, hopefully Steven and I will have ridden the new Muppets Aerosmith or the new Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster because it's supposed to reopen before we go next year. So fingers crossed we will have more details to share at that point.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on so many edibles and have such a panic attack, but I gotta do it. I gotta do it.
We'll get you through it. You
We'll
will
get
make
through
it.
it. And now Dinoland, an area that
Dinoland USA.
like Dinoland was weird because when I went to
Hmm.
Dinoland, I felt I was too old for Dinoland. But then I went like years later, and I was way too old for Dinoland.
Yep.
And I never really like Dinoland. What I mean, Dinoland was basically a lot of Animal Kingdom was kind of built as filler.
Yes.
They didn't really have a budget because the animals became way pricier than they expected. So Dinoland was thrown together as well as, or was Dinoland as well as Camp Minnie and Mickey.
Yes.
Okay.
And some of the lore about Animal Kingdom's construction is so Joe Rohde, who is one of the most iconic Imagineers, he was in charge of the theming and building out of Animal Kingdom. And initially, Animal Kingdom was supposed to have a section dedicated to fantasy animals, like specifically dragons, the original like logo for Animal Kingdom. And you can still find this in the park in some places before they ran out of money. They had like, let's say like a lion, a giraffe, and then a dragon to symbolize this like fantasy part of Animal Kingdom. But they didn't get there, as you mentioned, Stephen. The zoo element of Animal Kingdom proved to be far too expensive. So instead, we got Dinoland USA, which I think is probably like the least coherent aspect of Disney parks.
Yes.
Like it's one of the craziest things I think that they ever built because it just does not feel like Disney at all. But there's something a little bit nostalgic about it for me because like for example, the boneyard is the playground in this section, and I used to run around there as a kid. So I'm like slightly sad to see that go, but I cannot say that I will miss anything else about Dinoland except for the ride Dinosaur.
It kind of reminds me of Beastland, where
Yes.
nothing is cohesive and nothing makes sense, and it's all just thrown together with a giant cartoon character staring at you.
Yep.
It's the Beastland of it all.
Yeah, the vague IP tie-in, I think, is the 90s movie Dinosaur,
It was
which
early
like
2000s.
okay,
I played the PlayStation 1 dinosaur game.
that's
They used to have
hilarious.
McDonald's rubber puppets of the Carnosaur.
Interesting.
I wish I still had it. It's at my mom's place. I would totally break it out right now if I had it. I have a fondness for Dinosaur. It's a butt ugly movie that makes no
Hmm.
sense. And the ride you mentioned, Dinosaur, was it like Rush to Extinction, Age of
Yep.
something Extinction? Um, I remember that scaring the shit out of me when I was really young, and it had just
Oh
come
yeah.
out because like a Carnosaur chases after you, and like it's very bumpy.
Super
Um,
bumpy.
Super bumpy, super weird, and again, it didn't have a sequel. It didn't really like attach to an IP. The reason they threw that ride together and made it like that was because Dinosaur was coming out, and Michael Eisner was like brand synergy. Um,
Yes.
so Disney
And
has kind of
Michael
always been like that.
Yes, and Michael Eisner thought that the dinosaur movie was going to be a huge hit, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it was not. My strongest memory of Dinosaur the Ride, which is still available, like you can still ride it a little bit. Um, Alex Novella's here, RIP Countdown to Extinction.
I
Um,
agree.
So my most like memorable experience with Dinosaur the Ride is I was like 11 or 12 years old and I was waiting in line to ride this with my mom. And there was this kid behind us who did not want to ride the ride. And I know he didn't want to ride the ride because for the entire 30 minutes that we were in line, he was screaming at the top of his lungs like, I don't want to go on. I don't want to go on. And his mom was like, shut up. Like, you're going on the ride, you're going to love it. And he did not love it because the entire time that we were on the ride, he continued to scream bloody murder. It was really unfortunate to have to witness. And afterwards, my mom was like, that is why, like, my mom was just like, you should never force your kid to go on a ride that they don't want to go on. And that is a memory that really sticks with me because that kid is probably traumatized. Like,
Absolutely.
some therapist has made an enormous amount of money from the kid who had to ride Dinosaur at 5 years old who absolutely did not want to be there.
She's just like flipping through dinosaur picture books, and the second she gets to like an iguanodon, he's like, "Ah, no! Don't make me
He's
see
doing
it, mommy!"
He's doing exposure therapy by watching like the intro to that ride over and over and over again.
He's watching like the Discovery Channel when dinosaurs walk the Earth videos. Is just a way to kind of like cope with having to be around
Exactly.
dinosaurs.
So we
Yeah.
have a TikTok from Shannon again here. And this was really fun because I like never did some of the stuff that she's about to do in this video.
Get all the souvenirs in Dino Land before it's closed next week. I'm so sad. Some of it is about to close. We've got to go get all the souvenirs.
Look how poppin' it is over here. Even Kevin's over here.
It's so
Why's it gotta close? Goodbye, the world's largest pin
I didn't
truck,
even know some
unless
of this
you
stuff
might
I had
existed.
no idea any of this stuff existed.
We gotta go one more time.
I think I rode the Triceratops
Look at that
spin when I was
view.
like
I
10.
did the Dumbo one. I never did that one.
Yeah.
Oh, no
I
photos
love
for
that this
us. It's
photo booth
broken.
is
We're gonna
broken.
Have to pretend. So we just go in and take a photo. I'll just like make it myself.
They just did not
They
give
just
a
did their
fuck
own.
at this
Okay, so now
point.
we're just gonna DIY it ourselves. That's okay.
Yeah,
We just
DIY
went
it
in and took our own
yourselves.
photos.
Of course, we've got to try to win a prize at the games. It might be hard. I've never played the games. But let's buy a ticket for $6.
All right, yay! We
A
got our
single game
ticket to
ticket
play. I
costing
almost want to keep the ticket. I'm excited.
I love that like Pixar Pier is like their own branded carnival, and they have their own games that are tied to Pixar and toys specifically tied to this. And I know we're about to see something that is just like the jankiest version.
Oh yeah.
Excited. We're gonna try Comet Crasher. You win a prize. Hopefully we get a dino. I've got to try to get it in the white. It's gonna be hard. White or yellow would be good.
They don't even have like themed stuff here.
No, it's like I'm looking at the background. I'm like, what are those plushes?
Yeah.
And there's Mickey. They're such bad games too.
Her face says it all.
Yeah, right.
Well, no! I lost the game. I lost my $6.
Let's check the store. See if they got anything
I
for
haven't been to the
sale.
store. This store I remember.
Here they
Yeah.
are.
I was big into
My
Crush
souvenir. We're gonna get the
She's
two
about to get some crushed
dinos.
pennies.
Pennies. Big into Crush Pennies. I used to
Nice
collect
and
them.
warm. And the other
Those are
dino.
actually a good souvenir.
My little
I have a
Dino
Crush Penny
Land
book.
souvenirs. I'm excited.
I love that. I can make these. Should do a show and
Gotta
tell
go in the
episode.
boneyard
I
before
gotta
it's
find
gone.
it.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I've never
absolutely.
been up here. It's so cool.
This is the boneyard.
Hello,
It was
everybody.
really fun.
The slide. Oh.
Go down a slide.
Do it.
I did it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Ow.
They had like a sand pit where you could also do like the digging for
Yeah.
bones.
That one
But I
I
remember-
remember.
Yes, yes. If there were too many kids in there though, people would get really feisty with like the little like picks and brushes to like brush the stuff off of the fossils. That would not end
The way
well.
it should be. So Dinosaur, I think, is closing. The ride is closing this year.
Mhm.
I think maybe over the summer.
Yes.
Or yeah. And again, Dinosaur and the Animal Kingdom in general is now becoming IP land.
Yes.
What is the dinosaur area turning into?
We will get into it in just a few
Oh,
slides. So
absolutely.
hold on tight because we're gonna get there.
And now we're going to Tom
Um,
Sawyer. I'm gonna say I have never cared for Tom Sawyer Island. I know that makes me a bad Disney adult. I was it's something from the 70s I didn't care about. It's one of those. Yeah, it's just the boat never appealed to me. I've never even touched any part of this.
Steven, I'm coming to your house and I'm gonna fight you to death over Tom Sawyer Island because I love that place. Yeah, I saved Rivers for America till the end, and I actually have an argument on the next slide that we'll get to in a minute because I do think that Rivers of America has its charms. And I say that with the massive caveat that the reason why they're getting rid of Tom Sawyer Island is because no one goes there. And unfortunately, like myself included, but hear me out. I think that there is a good reason to maintain this type of attraction in the parks, and we're about to get to it. But first, for those who don't know, what Rivers of America is it's kind of like a transitional land in between like Big Thunder Mountain and like Main Street USA. And the attractions that specifically are disappearing are, first of all, the river itself. That's been drained, as we will see in a second. And then to get across the river, there was like, again, like a playground, which was Tom Sawyer Island. And there was like some caves you could explore. During the summer, there would be like a seasonal food stand. But mostly it was just like a playground. And people did not usually go there because it was not very intuitive to get there. You had to get on like a canoe essentially, or like a raft to get across. And then the Liberty River Bell boat, whatever it's called, the Liberty boat, it was just like on a single track that went around the river. And you would basically just get on it, and it was like a very slow moving ride. I think I have 2 TikToks to illustrate the before and the after of this land.
You got it.
And
Okay,
plenty
so this is the
nights
before.
under pink skies, you taught them to enjoy.
It's so pretty.
I will say, it is literally just a picture of an island and a picture of a boat, which kind of illustrates the problem with the island.
We're gonna get to the defense of it.
Okay, and now this is what deforestation looks like.
Best day and nighttime view across the rivers
This is
of
the
America.
environmental destruction.
By
Right,
day,
this is
Tom
what happens
Sawyer
when Walt
Island
Disney's
sat
American
quiet out there
Constitution.
with the haunted mansion
Yeah, so
watching
they drained
in
the swamp.
distance.
This
The
is
river's been
Disney's Drain the
drained for
Swamp.
months, and the
Manifest
raft was
Destiny.
crossing long ago, but
So,
up until
as you can
Sunday,
see, I
you
think
could
this is
still
very
look clear
cool.
across,
Just
taking
in that I love
rare
seeing the
sight
inner
one
workings
final
of Disney
time.
attractions. And
Oh,
as
yeah.
you can
Then the
see,
sun set,
the
and the
Liberty
story
Bell Riverboat
changed.
was on a
Lanterns
track
and lights.
underneath the water, so it wasn't actually a free floating ride. It went around a track. It was like a normal ride.
Gotcha. I muted it because the AI voice was annoying me.
No,
So
that's
you
so
have
real.
you have to talk about it.
I don't even know what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I'm so confused. It's just the haunted
Walls
mansion.
are standing,
All right.
and no more looking
Okay, well, let's
across
go to the next
river.
slide
What
because
once
there is an argument to be made in favor of the Rivers of America, even though it's not that popular. And so this is a blog post from basically my favorite Disney blogger. His name is Tom Bricker, and he runs the website Disney Tourist Blog. It is a favorite resource of mine. And he wrote a post back in July called Why Rivers of America is Worth Saving. And what he wrote, I'm going to read it out loud because I fully agree with this message. So he said, there's a long-term price to be paid for viewing the parks from the perspective that every square foot must be put to its most efficient use, have its capacity maximized, or be directly monetized. That's too myopic of a view and ignores the practical reality that guests form impressions based on the totality of their visit, with those little things or counter programming adding as much as the e-tickets. If everything is go, 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 the guest experience as a whole can suffer. And that's true even if the individual attractions replacing the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island end up having higher guest satisfaction scores. There are some things that are impossible to quantify, that guests just absorb even without realizing it. This is precisely why we value atmospheric entertainment. The energy can be felt subliminally, even if not consciously. It brightens the mood, even if unknowingly. It's the exact same idea with the Rivers of America. There's no guest satisfaction metric for how many guests per day walk along that waterfront promenade, pause for a deep breath, smile, and take a photo. It could be an indelible moment burned into their memory, or more likely, a fleeting bit of happiness. It is striking the delicate balance of experiences and emotions that make Magic Kingdom, well, magical.
Beautiful.
And so the argument being made here is essentially that, like, even if you do not take the little riverboat over to see Tom Sawyer Island, you are immersed in a space that is reflective of what this part of Magic Kingdom is supposed to represent. It is like the landmark environment of America that you're supposed to be transported into. And so it's being replaced by essentially a parking lot that is themed after the Cars franchise. So it's not going to be like a peaceful, beautiful thing anymore. It's going to be like another e-ticket with a 90-minute to 4-hour wait where you feel compelled to buy a fast pass. And I think that is what kind of like we're losing here. So even if it doesn't have a lot of ride value, it's about more so like the impression that it's creating.
Yeah. How many Cars lands is that now? Is this the third?
This is gonna be the third
Third,
Cars
third,
Land,
like
yes.
we need so many goddamn Cars lands because you know what sells the most toys? Cars.
Cars.
Cars is
Lightning
one of
McQueen.
Disney's. If you go to like a kid's toy store, they got Cars toys up the wazoo of every car you could possibly think of, because
Yeah.
kids freaking love cars. And like, I agree 110% with all of this. I think when it comes to like the Disney has always excelled at the theming of everything.
Yes.
When you walk into a
Yes.
space, they have speakers going on in the background. They have smells pushing in. There's all these little hidden Mickeys that are all over the place and little Easter eggs you wouldn't necessarily catch. And they're just like washing that away so that they can keep people on rides as much as possible. It's like,
Yes.
again, it's like the Defunct Land Shapeland video,
Yeah.
where it's all just about how much shit, like what people are waiting in line. If people are waiting in lines, they're not buying food. If people are
Right.
like immersed in, a playground or a park, they're not buying things. So we got to
Yeah.
find ways to keep them happy when they're not buying things just long enough. And
Yes.
I think them getting rid of this, like getting rid of Tom Sawyer's Island, though it was never really my thing, I definitely agree. I remember kind of walking through Frontiersland, seeing the Country Bear Jamboree, and seeing the boat and the island, and just kind of like taking it all in for what it is, because it is a whole experience that you should be enjoying, rather than like, remember this, do
Mhm.
this, and instead, we get ka-chow. Sorry.
Yes.
This is Mike Wazowski, Mike Wazowski.
Exactly. So to me, the loss of Rivers of America is directly the enshittification of Disney World, because the original definition of enshittification is an experience that over time, every single aspect of it becomes slightly worse and slightly more expensive. And so that is what we are seeing in this part of Magic Kingdom, is like, instead of passing by this beautiful area that costs you absolutely nothing, you're going to be passing by something that is loud, something that is noisy, and something that is compelling you to spend more money. And so that is like kind of like my sadness in seeing Rivers of America disappear. Now, the upside here is we still are going to have Rivers of America in basically all of the other castle parks around the world. And I think Walt Disney's ghost would probably rise from the grave and go into Bob Iger's scary gold home and like stab him if he knew that this was happening. So I think that they will at least keep the OG Rivers of America in Disneyland, I imagine, for a while.
Horror movie where Walt Disney's animatronic gets his ghost inside him and walks to Bob Iger's mansion, and just stabs him while he sleeps. That's it. And I've seen this like Monsters Inc. concept art so many goddamn times, and
Hmm.
every time I look at it, I see a new thing that makes no sense.
Like AI.
AI, yeah, like this little squid baby that a guy is holding. That's never gonna happen. What would that
Correct.
be? It would be like a walk around character, like how they have in like the Harry Potter lands, where
Right.
like someone with a dragon doing this. No. Also, no kid has ever gotten this close to a walk around character just walking around.
Yep, you can
There's
only
like a
do that
handler
in.
here and a handler here.
Yes, the only place I think where you can still do this is Tokyo Disneyland, because in the US parks, I think like vlogger culture has in particular ruined this, and also like lack of parenting culture has ruined this,
Yeah.
where you no longer even really have roaming characters to this extent. But so yeah, so for the rest of today's presentation, we're basically going to go through what's replacing all of these beloved attractions that are no more. And so
Yes.
Monsters Inc. Land is replacing Muppet Land. And Steven, I know you in particular are not happy about this.
I I've Monsters Inc. is a fine intellectual property. I remember watching it when I was younger. It is fine. The representation that it's had in the parks has been lackluster, I think is fair to say.
Mhm.
There's the slow little cart ride where they have the animatronics of all the characters.
Mhm.
I actually learned from the Defunct Land video that Roz at the end says specific things
Yes.
depending on who's in front of her. I did not know that.
Yep.
I did that feels like a waste, but again, hated that ride. I refuse to go to the Monsters Inc. laugh floor.
Mhm.
I always find those boring. I could do Crush because Crush is very easy to go like in and out. Also, I
Yeah.
love that aquarium.
Yeah.
So I can kind of go to that place and just enjoy Crush for like 10 minutes and not be stuck there. And that, I believe, has been all of the representation of Monsters Inc. in the American parks. And they
Correct.
sucked. So they're like, okay, Monsters Inc. is still a valuable IP depending on our chart. So we are going to make Monstropolis,
Yes.
and create a giant roller coaster where
Mm-hmm.
we, go around the only interesting part of Monsters Inc. I believe
Yeah.
these two concept arts of the only ones we've really seen, as well
Yes.
as like behind the scene footage of how the ride itself will work in terms of
Yeah.
how we get on these doors. Um, yeah, I just don't care. I just like it's not gonna look like this. This
That's
is
the thing.
so far from what it's gonna look like. Like, so I watched the first Monsters Inc. maybe like a couple months ago with my fiance, and it is
Mm-hmm.
actually a very well themed world. Because again, Lasseter, before he got outed as a sex pest,
Mm-hmm.
um, did manage to make an interesting movie. And there's so many different like monster puns and all the cars that they ride because they're monsters. And then you get to like Monsters University, where it's just like so silly. They just
Yes.
took monster culture, and I tried to watch the television show. I really did, because I like the other Pixar show that they did, about the Little League baseball team. But the Monsters Inc. one
Mm-hmm.
is just so bad. So I like. I think the Muppets Land itself isn't very big. It
Yeah.
was never like a big plot of land. So that building that they have looming in the distance cannot be that big.
Right.
It won't work. The
Right.
shops around it, I'm sure, are gonna sell little Monsters Inc. things. I'm sure there will be like little streetcars or whatever, but I cannot see it actually capturing any sort of thing because Disney can't do outdoor animatronics. Disney can't do indoor animatronics. Disney can't do
Right.
animatronics. Look what's happened to Tiana, um,
Right.
which I'm sure we'll get to. But like the Monsters Inc.'s world, if you were actually do it right, would be so full of life and so full of interesting things. I love the
Mm-hmm.
designs of the monsters in Monsters Inc. I do remember when I was a kid, I had like all these little one of my first blind bag addictions was collecting
Mm-hmm.
the entire line of like Monsters Inc. toys of the scarers. Um, the guy who gets shaved, I had a
Oh
toy
yeah.
of. I had a bunch of McDonald's toys of like the Ecto guys, the ones in the yellow suit who would like clean everything. There were these dudes with
Yep.
claws. There were these little guys with just like two legs. The monsters themselves have so much character, and I think that's the part that is going to be the least. They're going to have the least amount of actual monsters in the Monsters Inc. land. It's going to
Yeah.
be a bunch of like random nonsense storefronts designed to sell you things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Easy robotic things that kind of, can be maintained and they'll break down within like a month of use. And I just have no faith. I want it to be good. I genuinely want it to be good. I think you can do an interesting cityscape with monsters, and I
Mm-hmm.
think animatronics can be used well. I think Epic Universe, for all of its flaws, does manage to incorporate animatronics really well into an outdoor space with fans.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Islands of Berk, the How to Train Your Dragon space, is
Mm-hmm.
actually really cool and probably the only spot other than Mario World I'd like to go to. But I just don't think Monstropolis is going to be able to do any of that.
I agree. And we have a question from Lindsay in the chat, which is, are these concept photos AI? So my answer to this is I don't think that they are. And I say that, knowing that Disney has put out AI slop in recent years. A
Yeah.
couple years back around this time, they put out like a Christmas drawing on
Yeah.
their like
It was
official social
Thanksgiving.
media accounts. Oh, it was Thanksgiving. Yeah.
It was
They put
Thanksgiving.
out like a Thanksgiving, like Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, the whole gang. And that was like pretty clearly generative I don't think that their concept art is AI. It all has this style that looks like vaguely painted. I think like the AI quality to these images is like they are cramming in, as to your point, Stephen, all of this detail that is not actually going to translate over into real life. And a lot of it is, quite frankly, impossible. You're not going to see Sully in this capacity, like walking around with kids. You're not going to have like the characters and the cars and the birds and all of these like moving pieces. Like this stuff is not going to exist in real life. And the problem with this concept art that Disney keeps doing over and over again, and we're about to look at some more examples of this, is the concept art looks really good and the actual real life creations cannot live up to it. And it won't live up to it. And because they are setting expectations so high, I'm going to go into Monstropolis with pretty high expectations, and I don't know if they're going to be met. I would guess that they won't. I also think it's kind of funny that even here in this like best case scenario vision of the land, you still have like so much marketing. Like in the bottom left, this young person is holding these ice cream cones. And I'm like, of course they're going to sell like monster ice cream cones. Like we know for a fact that that's going to be like probably a $20 item if I had to guess, is like some sort of like monster sundae that you'll be able to purchase. And it probably won't even look that good. You also have the kid next to them. I think these are both little girls. You also have the kid next to them who's wearing like the Mike Wazowski lounge fly, essentially.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's a lounge fly.
Yep. And I guarantee you there's gonna be a store in this land that's selling this exact lounge fly. Now, going to the roller coaster, the next slide. This is something that, like, in particular, my expectations for this ride are high, and I am hoping that they are met. I do not have a lot of optimism that they will be, but, like, I want to see them deliver on this because they are selling this as, like, basically their most exciting coaster ever. And I know we had a question in the chat, like, a while back of, like, what do we count as coasters and what do we not count as coasters? Like Space Mountain, it's definitely a roller coaster. It just doesn't have a loop-de-loop. This ride is not, I don't think, going to have any upside down parts. But they're really selling this as like our most thrilling roller coaster ever. And I believe this is the first roller coaster that they're building that is this style of coaster where you are suspended from above. And it's like the actual ride vehicles are along this like track, this overhead track. And oftentimes this ride could be something that could go upside down. Like I have been on this style of roller coaster where you do all kinds of like inversions and loop-de-loops, but I don't think that we're going to see that here. And I imagine like my best guess for this ride is that it'll have some cool theming, but I wouldn't be surprised if this clocks in at under a minute of actual ride time.
Yeah, we've seen like how the ride vehicle is actually going to work, and like it tilts you. It basically lets you go back and forth while on the upside, like on the rail that's above you. And that's, I think when it comes to actual ride time, it's really not going to be much because it's going to tell the story of what happened, where Boo gets caught by Randall and you have to go save her from the big mean lizard guy, and we're probably gonna go through like a door or whatever, and it'll look cool. But yeah, it's just gonna be it's either gonna be too fast so you can't really do anything with it, or it's not gonna be very long. There's no like Disney. Maybe it's because the last thing they made was Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It's just I hate that thing so much. There's no they have from this concept art alone, you have such high expectations. It looks so cool. We've got the scream canisters like propelling you through this world, and the when you look at the Monsters Inc. movie and you see that door scene, you're like, oh my god, this would be so fun to be on. But Disney does not. Disney is spending all of their money in AI, and making sure that they can make the stock price go as high as possible with Nvidia. That like I have no faith that they can actually make a theme park coaster that is unique enough. Because what is the last coaster that they did was Tron, right? Right. And Tron, I've never really seen anyone say too many good or bad things about Tron.
Same. It doesn't get that much buzz at all.
No, it just seems to be like it's there. It's got a weird ride vehicle. Also, nobody cares about Tron. I don't care what. I know Disney keeps trying to make anyone care about Tron. Nobody will ever care about Tron.
Stop trying to make Tron happen. It's not going to happen.
It was a bad movie in the 80s. Actually, my fiance loves the reboot. So we do have to watch that Jared Leto weird one. But still, nobody cares about Tron. Uh,
Yeah.
and
And
now
so yeah, this
I
is what
physically
the Muppets
cringe.
intro to the Rock and Roller Coaster ride is gonna look like.
Have you ever
Allegedly.
seen the new Muppets movies? They have
Yes. I've seen
Muppets
a
Most
couple of
Wanted.
them.
They have
Yes.
Muppets Most Wanted where it's like Darth Kermit, and that's all I see when I see this is just like evil Kermit. He's just missing a dimple on the other side. So like this
100%.
will be a movie screen that will show the Electric Mayhem, which Disney stop trying to make the Electric Mayhem a thing. They don't matter. They're just a fucking band, okay? I think I blogged about how angry it made me. They gave Dr. Teeth a backstory why his name is Dr. Teeth. Because his parents were dentists and he wanted to follow in their path. But he met this pink guy right here who was a hippie who taught him how to be a singer to play in a band. So he stops being a Dr. Teeth, instead does this. I don't care. I don't care. None of this is gonna
Dr.
matter.
Teeth.
Dr. Teeth
What's
does not.
his story?
Right? I could just like, ugh. I hate it. I hate it. I hate that show so much. This guy's called Zoot. None of it matters.
You've
But
got
like,
your
yeah,
animatronic penguins.
we're gonna have the animatronic penguins, and we're probably gonna have an animatronic Skeeter.
Yeah.
But like again, Rocket Roller Coaster doesn't have much theming to it. How are
Right.
you going to add the Muppets to it? The Muppets can't just exist in a single space. The
Right.
Muppets are always the best when they're fucking up an entire area. It's supposed to be pure chaos. That's what Jim always tried to bring into the Muppets. In every project he did, was that it was always a sense of whimsy and chaos, that you never knew what they were going to do. And when you're just stuck with a goddamn pre-show room, like
Mhm.
back to Muppet Vision, it has one of my favorite stupid little Easter eggs. When you walk
Mhm.
in, you see like a little like ticket booth where no one's there, and it has a sign that says "Be back in whatever," key under the mat. And if you lift
Mhm.
up the
Yes.
map that's behind it, there is a key physically embedded in the concrete. Like that is so fun and that is so charming and so cute. And when it comes to like this goddamn shit right here, you can't
Mhm.
have that same sort of fun. I just don't get
Devastating.
it. Fucking
Devastating.
these weird ass AI looking people. I do agree that
Yeah.
Disney concept art looks AI.
It
Like
does look
it
AI. And
does 100%.
they're probably spending a lot of money on this too.
Right? There's one guy who's been redrawing this like over and over and over since that D23 where shit went bad.
Yes.
And they had to figure out. But now Skeeter's uncle owns the theater, and Kermit will show up in a video because it's hard to make animatronics work, I guess.
Yeah.
They're
And
puppets. It should be easy to make animatronic puppets.
you would think so.
And now,
Yeah. So this so this one, the next two pieces of concept art that we're looking at, the additions like the captions and stuff were added on later. But so this is what they're doing with Dino Land USA and Animal Kingdom. They are turning it into a vaguely like Latin America inspired space, which is an ambitious and compelling prospect. We will see how it turns out for us, but of course it's just like an IP sandwich.
yeah.
And the IP that they're doing here, as you can see with these helpful illustrations, Dino-Rama, which is like the fair games, that is going to turn into an Encanto ride. It's the Casa Madrigal, which is the main house in Encanto.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be, I think it's going to be some kind of boat ride.
Okay.
So this could be good. This could be bad. Again, I have high hopes. We're not going to see this until like 2027 at the earliest. So we have a long time to go. Now, Dinosaur is going to become an Indiana Jones ride. I am a big fan of the Indiana Jones rides. I'm
Yeah,
excited
it
to see
still
what
holds
they do
up. The show
here.
is
Yeah,
fun, and the coaster's fun.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one in Disneyland is one of, I think, Disneyland's best rides.
Yeah.
So a refurbished version of this could be quite good. And then over here, the Restaurantosaurus,
Taurus.
say that 6 times fast. That is going to be a new restaurant themed after this tropical Americas theme.
I don't even know
And
what
then
that means.
Well, it's just a way to be like, "Oh, we're gonna do Coco, we're gonna do Encanto, and
Oh,
we're gonna
got
do
it. Yeah,
Indiana
yeah.
Jones because that's vaguely Aztec themed."
Basically South.
Yeah, like with the timelines of like these historic references to these South American places, it almost gets a little bit offensive.
Right?
But skimming over that, then the Dino Land dig site, that playground, is going to turn into some sort of carousel, and I think it's going to be like a vaguely Coco themed carousel. So that's what we can expect from this land. I'm sure it will not be quite as good as what the concept art suggests, but that's what we're getting there.
It never is. Like, Encanto has too many characters with faces.
Mhm.
And I just, again, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Whenever I see a
Disaster.
TikTok, none of the animatronics work. There was a guy I watched just last week who counted how many of the Tiana animatronics working. It was like one out of all of the Tiana ones that were existing. One had like a broken hand that was just flopping like a wrist. So like trying to do Encanto could be really cool. The Encanto world lends itself to a ride because it's about a
Yeah.
house that is alive and can basically do anything.
Yeah.
So, in theory, you could do really cool things with the shingles. You can kind of make all of these
Yes.
little bits of the world come alive, but those people that you're going to be stuck with that are going to look awful. And we already have a South American boat ride at Disney. Um, it's in the the
Mexico
Mexican,
Pavilion.
yeah, it's in the Mexico Pavilion, and you get to
Yep.
go around the world with Donald and those two parrots nobody knows.
The Three
I
Caballeros.
I love to sing and to dance and to play. Uh, but we already have a South American boat ride. Like
Yeah.
I understand it's again because they're trying to shoehorn as much IP in as possible. And in Kanto, we don't talk about Bruno and
Mhm.
pressure. Like all of these songs are so successful, which means they're just
Yes.
going to continue to make money. So they want people to to have a park thing because they're always going to be memory of it. And we know how Disney feels about Indiana Jones. They just brought Harrison Jones out of retirement to make
Harrison Jones.
Harrison Ford. Harrison Jones. That's my favorite character he's played.
That's so
That movie sucks, and they have to de-age him, and they basically have to make him strong, and he can't move that much.
right.
So again, it's just like remember this, remember
Yep.
Indiana Jones, and it's just like it's not compelling, and it's not unique. You've already
Yeah.
done all of these things before. Give
Yeah.
us something that we haven't seen a billion times and do
Yeah.
it well. But like
Yeah.
it's why Disney's losing the theme park war because they
Mhm.
just keep doing this shit.
Yes. I think like what I'm most excited for in the Tropical Americas themed section is definitely the Encanto ride because I love the Encanto movie, but truly fear for what those animatronics are going to look like, and I think they're going to need to invest a lot more money than they want to if they actually want this to live up to the expectations that they're creating.
I just like animatronics when they first started were a passion project that Walt
Mhm.
wanted to make. He wanted to bring Abraham Lincoln to life. And nobody told him no because he was Walt Disney. And, we would probably have the actual experimental prototype city of tomorrow instead of Epcot, where a bunch of people were living inside of Epcot if he just lived a few years longer.
Right.
But now animatronics are sort of tied to Disney's DNA, and the technology has gotten so much better. They're no longer just like pistons and tubes that they can move like this.
Right.
It's now you can have a full range of motion and do all these things, but they just break nonstop. Any
Yes.
animatronic made in the past decade has been either taken out or refurbished a bajillion times over.
Yeah.
I can't even count. I don't even know how many animatronics are still around, but I can tell you so many that are gone. Um, Animal
And
Kingdom Yeti, Animal Kingdom
yes.
Avatar guy. Um, Buzz Lightyear now has a projection mapped face. Frozen
It's dark.
Elsa projection mapped face. So they got rid of all the trolls that were in the maelstrom. They just can't
Mhm.
do it anymore. I've seen Walt break at the
Yeah.
animatronic Walt, that show. If you've ever seen it break, it's fucking
Oh
nightmare
yeah.
fuel. Oh, it's nightmare fuel. Where his face is just drooping like he's had a stroke.
Yep.
Oh,
It's
it's
also like
terrifying.
the animatronics do not do well in like watery environments, but they keep putting them in boat rides. And I think even this is going to be a boat ride. And I'm like, clearly water and these like really technical animatronics with a billion parts do not mesh well, but they just keep doing it over and over again.
Just covered in rubber. The
That's
alligator playing the trumpet will be fine. Fuck it.
that's the definition of insanity.
I
Um,
just like
but I
boat rides
think,
aren't even that much fun.
well, well, you said it. Okay, moving on to our last slide. So this is what is going to become of Rivers of America. And I got this off of Reddit. So this is somebody's guess at what we're seeing here because another AI like thing about these photos, which I honestly don't even think are AI, but something that is AI reminiscent is like they oftentimes don't really make logical sense.
Yeah.
Like you can't exactly tell what you're looking at when you look at the mock-up concept art for the new Cars Land in Magic Kingdom. But what we know is going to be there is we know there's going to be two rides. You're going to have the main e-ticket ride, which is going to be this like outdoor cross-terrain like it's probably something similar to the Cars ride that's in Disney California Adventure, which is
Mm.
basically just test track. This is supposed to be more original than that. The Cars ride in California is fabulous. So again, I have high hopes. My expectations have been raised for what they're going to be doing here. We will see if they get met. And then there's also going to be a more like kiddie ride here. So in this person's guess of what we're seeing in this image, they are guessing that this like area that's circled in green is going to be like the kiddie ride, and the guess is that this like red line work is the trajectory of the more roller coaster-esque ride. And
Yeah.
so they're suspecting that we have like this starting point that we're going to go through this like wintry terrain with like a steep uphill climb and then a bunch of like sharp turns coming downhill, circling around the entirety of the land before like coming back to your ending point, which like it could be fun.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be really loud. I think it's going to be really chaotic, and I think that they're going to be by the time this ride opens, like because the lightning lanes employ like the what's it called dynamic pricing
Hmm.
where the more people who are in the park the more expensive the lightning lanes become. Due to that system I would suspect that people are probably going to be paying like $70 once you add
God.
the because you have to pay when you buy lightning lanes. For those
Uh
who
huh.
don't know, you have to buy just like the lightning lane system itself. You have to pay, and again that's dynamic pricing, and I think Magic Kingdom is the most expensive out of
Mm.
the four parks. So people are paying up to like I believe $40 if not more. Maybe even more. Maybe I'm underselling it. It might be like 60, 70 just to get into the Genie Plus system for Magic Kingdom. And then for the most sought after attractions, you can pay like 20, 25, 30 on top of that. So you might be paying over $100 just
Jesus
to like skip
Christ.
the line to ride this Cars ride when it finally comes out.
And I don't even understand where the car's theming is. Where's the winter? I was like, oh, is this Matterhorn? No.
Well, something funny about it is I actually am pretty sure that they are using the terrain from the movie Planes.
Oh, the one with Dane Cook.
Yep,
Oh
yep.
God, I've never seen that movie.
I haven't seen it either, and I
No one
think
has.
that's what this is, which
It's
is
that
so funny, but it's of course they would do something like this. Of
sell
course.
toys, sell toys.
They just like they make the most inconceivable decisions all the time.
I again, I literally could not understand why they're making the decision other than monetary growth.
Oh,
No
of course
one,
that's what it is.
no one is looking at planes and is like, oh my God, I wish they would turn that into a ride. No one remembers planes. The fact that I remember planes is because Dane Cook is in it, and I like that Dane Cook exists. I
The
don't
only
like that. I don't like
reason
his humor, but I
right.
like that he exists.
The only reason I remember Planes is because when Planes came out, I was like, is anyone gonna see this? And I really don't think anyone did.
I think that I could be spreading misinformation right now, but I'm going to say it anyways. I
Go
think
for
it
it.
was one of the things made from one of the last things made by Disney TV animation.
Oh,
Um, it
interesting.
was like it was the company that was just basically like shitting out sequels. for VHS, and Disney didn't know what to do with them, so they gave them planes, and then planes
Interesting.
bombed,
Yeah.
so they didn't. They just they closed the studio.
And then they destroyed Walt's vision of Rivers of America to make a really expensive attraction based off of it.
So like at this point, what is like sacred that they can't touch because it's Walt's baby? It's Carousel of Progress,
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yeah.
um,
And
Matterhorn,
the
I guess,
castle,
and the
the castle
castle.
itselher.
But the castle, they can change the outside. They're repainting it,
Yes. Yes.
the way
That's
that it
true.
was originally. Um, and other than that, everything else is just fair game. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some point where they just say fuck it all. Pirates of the Caribbean isn't going to go because it's a cash cow.
Yes, they make so much money.
Haunted Mansion is probably never going to go, but they keep trying to turn it into a cash cow because it's had 2 movies in the
Yep.
past 20 years. Um, but like I'm waiting for the Carousel of Progress movie. Um, it's gotta
Me
happen.
too.
It's gonna happen.
I cannot wait for the Carousel of Progress movie. That is going to be such a disaster.
I love that that's
Also,
your ride. That's the ride you stand.
that is the ride that I stand. Also, don't forget Haunted Mansion's The Muppets movie.
I actually really like the Haunted Mansion Muppets. I think that is the
I
best
did
piece
too.
of Muppet media made like since Jason Segel's Muppet movie. Yeah, I
Wow.
think
That says a
everything else has
lot.
been dog shit, but I think that the Haunted Mansion because it was fun, it was quirky, it was gags and shit. The guy from Glee shows up.
True.
It was so much better than all the other sad, lifeless dog shit that they've given us over the years. Um, so yeah, this is, what they're getting rid of a bunch of other stuff next year, I assume.
Yeah.
Everything is going. Disney is just a constantly churning swill of trying to figure out how to get people to spend the most money in the shortest amount of time possible. It is now more expensive to go to this theme park than it is to fly to Tokyo and
Yep.
go to Tokyo Disney. Like, there's no, there's just, every year there becomes less and less of a reason to go to this theme park. Unless you are a millennial like us that
Yeah.
has a fondness for what it once was.
Yes.
And they're trying to keep capturing that and giving us IPs that they think our kids will like and we will like, but they just end up not spending enough money to make it work.
So
Uh,
true.
and the theme parks exist. At one point, the theme parks were Disney's biggest moneymaker.
Yes.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
They continue to be consistent is the one thing that I think. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they keep going, but I think that they still provide a lot of consistent income. And when they continue to raise prices on everything, people keep paying it. So I think that is one of the reasons why we keep seeing this like churn of just like this slop content. But do we have any final closing thoughts on our in memoriam for all of the rides we lost this year?
I think that we lost some of the truest Disney rides of the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
Like the rides that I grew up with, that I have so much fun nostalgia for, were the first ones to go. It
Yeah.
didn't matter that people still clearly had a fondness for them. They weren't packing up the seats as much as they used to, so they have to go. I think Disney as a theme park will continue to go in a direction that makes less and less sense to me each year. And for the love of God, don't fuck up the Muppet Show.
I think my closing thoughts, I'm revisiting a point that I made earlier, which I think is that we are basically seeing the enshittification of Disney World. And specifically, I think what we're seeing here is just like continued desire to create e-ticket attractions in each of the 4 parks where they can charge as much as possible for these lightning lanes. Because I think that as much as everyone hates the lightning lane system, it has made Disney so much money. And so we are seeing like the continued turnover of these spaces that cost nothing, but can provide a lot of enjoyment. Like a lot of memories are packed into these spaces that they're tearing down. But the problem is these were high capacity rides where you could fit a lot of people in there and they didn't have to pay anything extra. We are seeing in basically each of these examples, we're seeing those high capacity, high turnover rides turned into these like these are basically going to be holding spaces for guests
Yeah.
where you're going to put as many people in line for the Cars ride, for the Monsters Inc. ride, for the Tropical Americas rides as possible, because you just want to get people in the mindset of like, I need to spend more money. And that is that is what this is. And that is pretty sad. But on the flip side of that, as much as I hate to say it, I am a little bit like I'm very intrigued. It makes me want to they're really good at getting me to want to spend money. That's like the unfortunate takeaway from all of this is like I do kind of just want to even just be there for the ride to see how it turns out.
That's the whole point, is that you want to experience it. You
Yeah.
watch the influencers do it, and then you want to do it yourself. And it's a
Yep.
never-ending ecosystem. Uh,
Exactly.
well, thanks for joining us, guys. We
Yes.
very much appreciate it. We'll be back in the new year, probably with a new
Yep.
name, a new
Yep.
vibe, a new
Yep.
everything, because we
Yep.
are going to be professional Disney influencers. That is what 2026 is
Exactly.
going to offer us.
Um,
Absolutely.
Yep. Whether you watched this live or you're watching this later, thank you so much for being here. We have lots in store, much like the Disney parks.
Absolutely. We will ever churn, for there will never be, there will always be content.
All right, we'll see you
Great.
guys in 2026.